Hello, it's been a while. I wanted to catch up with you, check in with you, because the last time we talked, I was dealing with a lot of things with you. We're dealing with taboo subjects. How have you been? I hope you've been doing very, very well. And just so you know, I'm not about to abandon you. I'm not about to reject you. Lately, we're talking a lot about rejection sensitivity, abandonment wounds, being scared of rejection. And no, I'm not about to leave you. And then we're talking a lot about, the man cave, people who take space, avoidantly attached people love space. And you must be thinking, Coach Doreen must be avoidantly attached. She comes and then she goes, she comes and then she goes. I'm not about to abandon you. When I go into my space, I just go to auto-regulate. Those are some of the things that I want to discuss further with you. I come to talk to you about pleasure. This year I want to highlight a few things with you, and I want to connect the dots. The last time that we were talking about healing the mother wound, and we're not yet done. We just did a bit of highlighting it, and I got a lot of ladies coming to me and talking to me about this taboo subject. And it was nice to know that we have a commonality. We share history, we share culture, we share experiences. It was nice to get vulnerable with a few of you and get to realize that your story is not your story alone. Your story is my story. It's the story of another lady that I just talked about or talked to. And I felt good that it felt a bit lighter for you to carry. And I know we still have the responsibility of moving the effects of the mother wound from our bodies. For me, the concept is you cannot begin to regulate what you don't know how to feel. So it's not about feeling even. Ours is to get good at feeling, right? So ours is to feel the emotions that we suppressed in the bid to get love. We've been performing for love for years. Now want to stop performing for it and feel it and sit with it, right? So I want to connect the dots in the podcasts that are going to come up. So yes, I said it. We're going to have more podcasts coming in. I've worked to find a way in which we'll have consistency. Starting out wasn't easy. I needed to start, but having to be able to be consistent and all that and giving you the certainty that the feminine in you desires wasn't easy. But I can assure you now, at least we're going to be a bit more consistent. Not weekly, but there will be certainty. You'll be able to know when the next episode is going to be dropping. That's what I wanted to check in with you. And as well to ask you to keep subscribing, to keep liking, to keep commenting. Your comments give us the morale, but also they help us to know or to see the direction that you want us to take this podcast. This podcast is called Heal with Doreen. Really, we have a lot to heal together as Africans, wherever we are in the world. And it's been 2024 really was an amazing time for me to connect with different women and men in the different parts of the world we are, and all of you saying you understand the African in me. It was just so beautiful. In that when we are looking at our sexuality, we don't underestimate our culture, our history. We don't underestimate how we were raised as Africans, even before we go into, the smaller nuclear homes that we came out of. So it was really nice to know or to connect that wherever all Africans are, we share common aspects, and that when we heal together, it becomes easier, and then it's like one story, one prayer, one rhythm, and that whatever that we use is just basically easy to work for all the Africans around. So thank you for the connect. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for letting me know that wherever you are loving this, and that this benefits you, right? So that was very good. And I talked about the mother wound and daughters. And I still didn't even go deep. Some of you still want me to talk about narcissistic mothers, the effects of narcissistic mothers. I'm going to do that. Difficult mothers, what if she's gone? How do I deal with that wound and all that? I'm going to deal with that, We're also going to talk about the goddess in every woman. If there was a wounding at the mother, or if we have mother wounds, how is it affecting the sisterhood that we want to build? Because I'm calling in a conscious community. I want us to come together intentionally or with the intention of healing. So I don't want communities where women come and then they're bickering, they're gossiping, the communities that we're all afraid to join. I know there's a myth that women hate each other, but imagine when we heal the mother wound and expose our beautiful hearts. One of the gifts of the feminine heart is the capacity to build communities, is the capacity to connect people, is the capacity to build communities where people feel like they belong, where people feel like they are supported, where people feel like they are seen, where people feel like they are heard, where people can just drop everything, remove their shoes and feel seen. The feminine in us is able to do that, but because of the mother wound, we have some hate, some pain towards each other. If you didn't have a good relationship with your grandmother, with your mother, then it becomes hard for you to have a good relationship with other women in your life. And so patriarchy sort of like instilled a sister wound in us. But imagine when we heal the mother wound, we expose a beautiful sisterhood. And so we build a community of conscious women who feel so comfortable to be able to rebuild and heal the world and make this place a much better place for us to all live, especially when it comes to relationships. There's a lot of strife in relationships. Marriages, people are not having good sex. People are not having pleasure. People are not relating well. They're not co-regulating. I saw during COVID time when men would rather be in cars than be in their homes. Like, we don't know how to be in relationships. We find that we are in relationships distracting. We have to be in relationships drinking, smoking away, overeating away, overworking away. Like, we said we want relationships and go ahead to not have them. Go ahead not to enjoy them, and I don't like to observe that. I don't like to watch that. I want us to build a conscious community where we can heal, so that relationships are places of feeling, they're places of pleasure, they're places of connection, because we are wired for connection. We all want to connect. Everything we do is for love. Everything is a call for love. Whether or not somebody's being avoidantly attached is a call for love. Whether or not somebody's being anxiously attached, they're just asking for love. So if we understand that we are wired for connection, then if you and I heal and we build a community, then we bring back the beauty of a sisterhood. Now, even as that is there, the mother wound affects men as well. So I'm going to delve into how the mother wound affects men. We talked so much about how or what happens to women because of the mother wound, the codependence. We've talked about anxious attachment, or I will talk about that, but we don't get to see how the mother wound has affected how men view masculinity. We don't get to talk about how the mother wound affects how men relate to vulnerability. And what we are doing right now is bashing them. Come on, you need to learn how to validate my feelings. Hey, what about you? You don't even listen when I'm talking to you. I start talking about something and you keep quiet. They don't know. They don't even know what to do when they take the space. They say, men need their space. But these men don't even know what to do when they need their space or when they take it. So the women still complain, when he says he needs space, still goes and he drinks too much. He comes back when he's so high, or he's cheating on me, or he's doing that. You see, so men to have things that they need to be able to focus on, to see that really it's not about their personality. Something happened to them, or rather something didn't happen for them, so that they can be able to show up in relationships with more emotional maturity. So I'm here to talk about that. Now, compounding that, I have a theme to share with you, and I am here to tell you that we're going to have a series. So the series we're going to have is called Own Your Pleasure. Most of you have followed me with the previous podcasts that I've been on. I have talked about my history about sexual wellness, why I delved into sexual wellness, and why I delved into becoming a holistic sexologist. And before taking you into the deeper story, I got to find that even as I'm a Ugandan, and even as a Ugandan, that I've been talked about my sexuality, about sexual wellness, about pleasure from when I was young, from when I hit puberty. Still there was a gap, that still the society that took me through that had a bit of patriarchy to it, that still left a lot of pleasure for the men. So I got to a place where I found, okay, fine, I know how to sit in my body. I know how to be vulnerable. I know how to surrender. I know how to feel when I want to feel. And then I healed myself a little bit more. And then I learned how to desire. I learned how to, to draw boundaries, understand my sexual values. But what about this aspect of everything is taught for me to give? Everything is give, give, give. So I got to a place where I'm like, I cannot give what I don't know how to feel. So I want to learn how to first own my pleasure. Then I can start to give from depth. I want to first feel my own loving. Then I will be able to give that much love. Because if I don't know how to feel it, I don't even know if I'm giving it, And that has been my highlight for the last also years, 10 years, when I've been teaching about sexual wellness. So our series is called Own Your Pleasure. I'm going to share with you 10 things that you can do this year to own your pleasure for the men. And then I'm going to share with you 10 things that you can do this year to own your pleasure for the women. So I hope you get to watch the rest of the episodes coming up. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to engage. When you make this fun, for the groups that I've run, for the communities that I run, honestly, people can be busy and then people can just come and sit in spaces. But the spaces where there's interactivity, there's been a lot of healing. The interactivity makes us come out boldly because we're dealing with hard stuff, So if you engage with me, we make this community the most beautiful place to be. So I hope you stick around and I hope you get to comment and engage. Of all the podcasts that I've released, I realized you like the particular one, learning how to receive and then becoming irresistible. And for very good cause, right? So I want to share with you 10 things you can do this year to become better at owning your pleasure. What's the purpose of owning your pleasure? And I think I've said a bit about that. I got to a point where I realized that we have a huge orgasm gap in society. The orgasm gap is the understanding or is the knowing that men and women in heterosexual relationships, men experience more orgasms than women. And while we talk about equality in so many other places, we cannot underestimate the sexual equality. So there's no equality when it comes to the amount of orgasms or the experience at orgasming that men and women undergo. So men experience more orgasms than men, or at least as we heal, we get to bridge the gap. So to be able to bridge the orgasm gap, I needed to see what causes the orgasm gap. One of the biggest causes of the orgasm gap is that there's no sex education. There's completely no education about, sex. We have when we talk about sexual wellness, most of us think about sexual health. We think about reproductive health. We think about masturbation. We think about penetrative sex. We think about STIs. Honestly, when you talk to people about sexual health, that's what they're expecting. Or when I tell women, you guys come, let's talk about sex, that's what they would be expecting. Or they only want to talk about the erotica of things. There's so much in between that is not taught for women to be able to know so that they can be able to enjoy their orgasms, and also for men to be able to know so they can be able to, to help their women experience more orgasms, multiple orgasms, or at least orgasmic satisfaction. So one of the hindrances we have is a lack of sex education, and I'm here for it. I start with the Blooming Unicorns. I have a section in Wellness Together that I call Blooming Unicorns. I want to teach girls and boys about healthy sexuality, and because we have miseducation about that, we even fear it. We have taboo around, why are you talking to boys about sex? Why are you making boys and girls start thinking about sex and all that? It has nothing to do with that. I'll tell you a story about my son, something that I discovered this holiday about, he's growing up, and when I get to talk about that, but we don't have enough education about sex that is important or necessary to allow our bodies to experience greater orgasmic potential when we grow up, when we get to a point when we are ready to have consensual sex, right? Then the other challenge was really the different type of orgasms that we all experience, understanding our libido, understanding desire. Now, there's the aspect that our desirability as women is externally sourced. So we've been trained as women to wait for it. wait for when he wants, wait for when he thinks you're beautiful. So we do all sorts of things waiting for men to tell us, oh, you're so beautiful, or you are so amazing, or you have a good body, or you have like everything we think is desirable has to come from outside. So there was a gap in teaching women to first source, their desirability internally. It's not like it's not okay for people to tell you how you look like and how amazing you are, but there were no tools that taught women how to feel value internally. Women would have to wait for validation from outside to feel good, to feel connected, to feel like they belong. So there was a lot of fitting in. And that made women perform so much for sex, without having to be able to really enjoy and experience sex. So there's that bit, desirability. Our desirability was always externally sourced. We had not been taught how to validate ourselves. We had not been taught how to, build our own value system. We had not heard enough how to be able to say or how to be able to express ourselves. We always only said what we thought would make people happy, and that wasn't easy, or what that wasn't good. The other reason why I think owning your pleasure was necessary to heal or to bridge the orgasm gap was the idea that if a man comes, then we've all come. If he's come, we are good. If he's orgasmed, we are good. So most women would get into sex waiting for until he comes. So the enjoyment will be for him, and all they would be doing would be suppressing, waiting for when it will end, And so culturally, I would hear statements like "Kolamaro nsweke," when you're done, you cover me up. I went to school in the western part of Uganda, so there was a saying, when he's done, you just cover me up, and you're good to go. And that honestly wasn't just a saying; it was unconsciously, built into most women, that they did not know how to really think about their own pleasure. They would not think about their own desire. They would not think about their values. They wouldn't think about their boundaries. They wouldn't think about consent. You see, all that knowledge that they're not able to have, so there would be no agency. It would always be when he's ready, when he wants, when he thinks, when he hits on me, when he's, it was always dependent on the man, and that wasn't easy. Just imagine how much we've had to break. Yesterday I was meeting with some of the ladies I started Sensuous Women with. Those have become my sisters, because it wasn't easy breaking the taboo in Kenya, talking about sex and sexuality. So I tell these women, you guys listened. I called you and we sat for 8 hours and we talked and you listened. And now when we come and we sit and we are steaming and we are laughing, I tell them I'm not the only coach in Kenya for sexual wellness. I call them out, I tell them, you are coaches, you have it. I've been sharing this with you for the last 8 years. So we're looking at how far we've come and how comfortable now we are in our bodies to be able to talk about sexual health and especially owning our orgasms. But before, we all would say it was dependent on somebody else, and I would have to go to spaces where I'm learning how to make him come, how to give him a good blowjob, how to make him last in bed, how to ensure he doesn't get erectile dysfunction. And quite frankly, all the bridal showers I go for, all of them, the excitement is more around, so this is how to make a man come. Oh my goodness, they'll sit straight and then they'll be very attentive. But when I start talking about what hinders women from experiencing sexual pleasure, I feel I have a lot of load to be able to pull, and I'm not uncomfortable with doing that, but it's there. So it's one of the reasons why I said we need to learn how to own our pleasure. So it got to a point where the women don't feel enough in relationships, because that's one of the other things, that there's issues around how women see themselves, how they feel about themselves, and it looks so small about body image, or you don't need to think about the tires. No, it goes so deep. We have so much body hate. The cultures we've grown up in have made us really hate our bodies. There's feminine shame. Everything feminine has been just shamed, and it has made us hate our bodies. I was also talking to the ladies I was talking to yesterday, and I was telling them, imagine when I'm talking to women who are trying to conceive, they hate their wombs. There's some women who call me and they tell me, Doreen, I've not conceived again. Because there's a term we call TTC, trying to conceive. When a woman is trying to conceive, and then every cycle she's waiting for when it will happen, then she doesn't conceive. There are some women who tell me, I just feel like pulling my vagina out of my body. And just imagine the extent of body hate that we've had, because everything about us has been shamed. We don't value our wombs for more than just procreation. We don't know what else our wombs are for. when I'd started talking to women about womb health, I had called a certain program I was running, Womb Wisdom. And many women would say, Doreen, I won't sign up for that. I'll wait for the sex ones because I'm not trying to conceive. I mean, nilimaliza na watoto. I'm done with children. Forgive me if it doesn't sound good, but I'm done with children. And I'd say, ladies, these are women who are 35 and above. And until 35, the only thing they know about their wombs is procreation. And that means even when they're making love, it's for procreation. And that meant for me that even their sexual satisfaction had gone down because the low libido stories start around 30. Because women feel, if I'm done with my children, what else is this for? It's his. So we have stories of, I just give him so he doesn't cheat on me. I just give him kumsaidia. I just give him, and that used to bother me a lot because it goes down to the fact that we've not been taught to love our bodies. We've only been taught to hate them. So everything about a woman has been just shamed. Our cycles have been shamed. We mourn when we are bleeding. We've been conditioned to just experience period mourning. I'm on my menses. I just need some painkillers. They're about to come. Like we don't know how to receive this beauty, this gem of an experience that is cleansing us out, that is removing, heaviness or rather toxicity. We do not know how to feel that pain and listen to it and understand or decode it and ask ourselves, so a bit of pain, what does that mean? I'm feeling a bit of discomfort in my boobs. What does that mean? Instead, I'm feeling discomfort. Quickly, we want to kill the discomfort with so many destructive mechanisms. That's period mourning, and that has made us hate our bodies. So many things I can talk about that we unconsciously don't know have made us hate our bodies. There's different images of what makes a woman beautiful. Almost every 5 years they change. Now I'm seeing a craze for nyash nyash. And I'm thinking, shall we ever stop demanding for things from women? Like, we are never complete. Shall we ever be good enough? There's always the worry of, am I beautiful enough? Does society consider me to be complete? Do I have enough boobs? Do I have enough nyash? Are my hips good enough? Is my hair long enough? Is my hair thick enough? We've not been taught to even celebrate the little that we have. But all we do every time is to just gather up more, wondering if society is going to appreciate us. And that is such a deep unconscious wound that for most women who say body by design, it's really not so much of body by design, but it's because they've never felt so comfortable and safe in their bodies that they're just always looking for changing the body, using the body as a tool to control how they feel, to control the shame that has been, instilled in them, the shame, the guilt, the fear, the pain that we've carried from the whole mother wound. Remember, I said the mother wound is not so much about our mothers, but it's so much about also our motherland, our mother culture, the stories that just shame the feminine, the stories that have not made us really feel comfortable in our feminine bodies. So our cycles, our bodies, our bodily functions themselves, the fact that we even age, the aging thing being called a negative thing as opposed to being celebrated, as opposed to women saying, oh my God, finally I'm 40. They're like, guy, I'm 40. And then we start anti-aging products, anti-aging this, anti-aging this. So everything is against aging. And we take away the beauty that comes with a woman who has turned 40. I don't know why that was hidden, because you turn 40, you have massive sexual appeal. You turn 40, your capacity to experience sexual pleasure is deeper. You turn 40, your capacity to be able to create is deeper. So that wisdom is taken away when we stay focused on the negative aspects of aging. And so I said, if women don't learn how to own their pleasure, it's going to be difficult for them to even give pleasure. It's going to be difficult for them to go through even those 40s. It's going to be difficult for us to love, because pleasure is such a huge aspect of our well-being. And like I will tell you when I start talking to you about wellness and sexual wellness, that now it has been considered to be one of the elements of a healthy or well lifestyle. So if you think about physical wellness, emotional wellness, intellectual wellness, you must think about pleasure as well. Your pleasure, your capacity to experience pleasure influences your mental health, it influences your physical health, and it influences your emotional health. I will be telling you so much more about that, because when you don't allow for pleasure to well through your body, your capacity to focus is affected, so your work is affected. Your capacity to create is affected, because your sexual energy is your life force energy. It is, what that means is that it's your creation energy, it's your creative energy. And again, I think we have come to a place where I've seen creativity is not only for artists, it's not only for people who do painting and all that. Always we are creating. Even right now I'm creating words. I'm creating words and putting them together. You're creating every time you pray. You come up with words that express how you feel, to your divine and all that. We create every given second. But when we don't allow for this sexual pleasure to well through our bodies, our capacity to create is hindered as well. And so now it is a necessary part of our well-being, and that's why we need to own it. So what are some of the things that as a woman you need to focus on this year to own your pleasure? First of all, own your mind, master your mind. That may sound so easy, but there are so many hindrances and blocks to your capacity to experience pleasure, right? I break this down in the way that we have adapted. Remember, when we were growing up, from 0 months to 7 years, we developed our emotional brain. So depending on how we attune to our parents, either we learn to adapt where there was a lack, right? Or we learn to suppress, or we did not learn any of the skills that we need or needed in our adult lives. To suffice it, brother, I'm trying to say that there are 5 psychological needs that are fundamental for every human being. One is the need for security or safety. That is developed between 0 and about 3 months. We have a need for connection. You want to feel connected. That need was developed or not developed between 3 months and 2 years. We have a need to feel like we are influential. We have a need for power. We have a need for autonomy and independence. We have a need for worthiness. Now, as you grow up where those needs were not being met, you adapted. Your baby brain was just so clever. It came up with survival skills to ensure you still get to feel loved. So some of us adapted using perfectionism. Some of us adapted using codependence. What I mean is some of us had to be so good so that we can be seen and we get those needs to be met. Maybe you had a need to feel connected or to feel soothed, to feel seen, to feel heard, but that wasn't happening. So those social and emotional needs, if they were not attuned to you, you probably turned into a perfectionist. And to be a perfectionist, behind all that is shame. You must have experienced so much shame from those needs not being met, and behind perfectionism is shame. So the emotion that you get to carry, to suppress, is shame, it's guilt, it's fear. But on the outside, you look like a perfectionist. You're so good in class. You do the house chores very well. You're well-mannered. You are the nice girl. So we develop the nice girl syndrome, but underneath the nice girl syndrome is a girl trying to suppress shame, suppress fear, suppress the guilt of not having her needs met. Just imagine that. Now, when it comes to sexuality, how is that affecting women? When it comes to sexuality, everything you numb also numbs your capacity to experience joy. So if you numbed or you keep numbing bad emotions, we're not trained to be resilient through pain. So if you numb pain, which we're so good at numbing, then also you're numbing joy. So then your heart starts getting an armor. You start blocking emotions. And if you block emotions, you're blocking emotions of the vagina. So you grow up and you're cold in the vagina. By cold means the arousal mechanism is low. You're not able to sustain a good arousal. You're not able to sustain an orgasmic experience. It's sort of like premature ejaculating for you, premature orgasming. It's shortened. You get turned on quickly, you come very fast, or rather you take long to even get turned on. If your arousal mechanism is low, even your capacity to desire becomes low. So most women end up with responsive desire. Like, you really need to work her up so much for her to desire. She has to work or to do a lot for her to be able to desire, So perfectionism leads to a lot of emotional numbing. The emotional numbing leads to low arousal. Low arousal is what has made women not desire. So it's as if she doesn't want. And guess what it has done to us? So men say women don't know what they want. Just touch. She will like along the way. That way, we can't even set boundaries. We can't even say, no, I don't like it. We can't say just because I'm wet doesn't mean I wanted that. We can't say, okay, fine, I could have started with a yes, but I can say no halfway. No, because we don't get to experience lots of desire, then even our boundaries, our values, our sexual values, fantasies become really hard to arrive at. So if you're to do something for your sexuality and pleasure this year, master your mind. Go back to the stories that shaped you. Go back to the stories that shaped your capacity to feel, and especially if you're a perfectionist, find out how perfectionism sits in your body, which parts you have armored up, and especially for the feminine, if your heart is open to feeling, if your heart is open to, getting open, that way your cervix is also going to be open to multiple orgasms, right? So master your mind. But I get into looking at mastering the mind, again, because we adapted using perfectionism. Some of us adapted using art. Some people, what looks like good art was a way of them just distracting themselves from pain, and they still use it. So they don't use it as a healthy way of going through life. It's just a destructive place. It's one thing to want to distract yourself from pain for a bit, but when you distract yourself completely, that you don't allow yourself to feel, then you're still not good at regulating yourself. So some people just became artistic so they can be able to survive their childhoods. And some people became all enduring, too enduring. Like you think it's empathy. Your empathetic heart was overused. You used it to survive, so you're too responsible. You will take care of everybody else but yourself. You're over-enduring. You care for how other people feel, that you don't even know how to feel your own loving, that you're not compassionate to yourself. But on the outside, you look so empathetic and compassionate to other people. And so some women struggle to feel. I will get to the bit of that where if we can't feel our own love, it's really hard to receive love. That's how it works. It has to be that you first feel your own love, then you can be able to receive love. So the second thing that you can, rather the one thing that you can do for your sexuality or sexual wellness and pleasure and owning your pleasure this year is master your mind. Master, how did I survive? Am I over-enduring? How do I heal my empathetic heart? How do I heal toxic empathy? Because when you don't heal it, your capacity to feel, your capacity to receive pleasure is reduced, because you can't receive what your nervous system has not been trained to sit with. So you have to be able to come back to yourself, learn how to love yourself. It's not about bubble baths and reading books. No, it's learning to feel. It's learning to do things for yourself and feeling them and journaling them down and understanding what emotions have come up for me, what are the sensations in my body, and opening up that body internally that has been blocked from feeling and experiencing. Now, when we don't deal with that, our brains we get cognitive distortions. We say we want relationships and go ahead to sabotage good relationships. It really will be very important for you to master your mind and call in what you desire, so that you also can sit with what you desire. What I mean by that is, honestly, many times we say we want one thing and go ahead to experience another thing, which is what people have called love blocks. We've called them sabotages. You're visualizing right now. You're putting that vision board up. And for some people, it's a relationship vision board. And then you said, that's what I want. That's the experience I want to get. That's the love that I want to get. And the love comes your way. love walks in. He looks the perfect picture of what you put on the vision board, but the experience is very different. Also, when I'm vision boarding with people, I tell them vision boards work with emotion. If you don't get to constantly feel what you really want to feel, with that vision, it doesn't come until you have learned how to feel it. But why am I saying this? It comes to experiencing pleasure as well. So talking about perfectionism, the emotions that perfectionism tries to hide, the emotions of shame, of fear, of pain that we got from the past wounding. And then on the outside, we are just making them look like they're pretty. Because the idea is that if I can be proper, if I can dress so well, if I can speak so well, if I can do my job so well, if I can do this so quickly and they don't see me, maybe, just maybe, this pain will stop. Just maybe I won't feel pain, the pain that comes from judgment, the pain that comes from, so you have had to deal with more of that. And the effect of it, the physical effect of it, is that it covers up your heart. When it covers up your heart, it covers up your capacity to emote, to feel. So you become one that bypasses emotions. You either bypass them with spiritual bypassing, or you bypass them with toxic positivity. You bypass them, you're not able to feel. And when you're not able to feel, the heart is a muscle. Your heart doesn't expand to be able to sit with, to contend with, to contain, so that it can be able to sit with about 15 minutes of an orgasmic experience. What you have instead is anxiety while you're making love. You're mostly anxious when you are making love, and instead of saying that you're experiencing sexual satisfaction, for you it is just mumbled up chaos. It's urgency, it's casual sex, it's touch me, get in, get out, it's all not working for you. So what you can do for yourself this year is to eliminate cognitive distortions. Really sit with yourself every day and journal and ask yourself, how did I feel this day? How did I go through this day? Meaning, did I catastrophize through this day? Did I personalize things this day? Did I marginalize things? Was I labeling people? Was I critical of people, of myself? Or did I go through this day with a lot of criticism, for the things that happened to me? Did I conflict? Did I rupture? And when I repaired, was I to people please? Did I fawn through this day, Or did I just fortune tell? Was I just reading, emotional reading, in situations? Was I mind reading people? Am I always mind reading people? Because those are the ones that we call automatic negative thoughts, thinking traps that hijack us, keep us in our heads, and don't allow us to go in our bodies so that we can be able to own our pleasure. So one thing you can do this year is master your mind. I can help you do that. I've been talking about the Desire series, the Revive program. Those are the programs that I teach us how to be able to really create awareness about thinking traps, love blocks, sabotages, and also how they sit in the body, how we can be able to disintegrate them or allow them to move, how we can learn to feel again, how we can build a vagotone, how we can heal our nervous system, because it's not so much about knowing the feelings, it's getting good at feeling so that we can get good at thinking and get good at experiencing sexual pleasure. I'll be returning on the next part of the series, talking to you about the second, third, and fourth thing that you can be able to do this year so you can own your pleasure.